Hello and welcome to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. I'm Jesse Blaze Snider, and I'm here to rip the veil off the secrets hidden by the powerful and the elite, the mysterious societies that pull the strings behind the scenes. Together, we're going to uncover the truths they've hoarded away, the knowledge taught in the shadowy halls of Freemasonry and whispered among the most influential people on the planet. Quote, "The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society." John F. Kennedy. Secrecy breeds ignorance, and ignorance breeds control. I'm here to challenge the status quo, smashing through the walls of silence that have kept the truth from the light. As Edward Snowden said, the worst conspiracies are open and notorious. This isn't just a show, it's a movement, a revolt against the darkness of hidden knowledge, an uprising for transparency. I'm here to empower you with the information that has been kept from you for far too long. So buckle up and prepare to question everything. Welcome to Everything They Don't Want You to Know. Today, we're doing a special report because, it's time. We got to talk about this. It's getting really aggravating for me as a, quote, conspiracy theorist, as I have been at this for, my whole life I was a conspiracy theorist, but I was only open to terrestrial sort of conspiracies. Things that, were solid, that didn't run up against anything from a skeptic's guide, no Bigfoots and no aliens and no magic and shit like that. But I could see that the CIA was fucking around. And so was the FBI and America in general, in secret in so many ways and a lot of things. But when I really opened myself to deeper possibilities in general and had a willingness to listen to more people, and just sort of compare stories here. Let me listen to a whole bunch of CIA whistleblowers. Are they all saying the same thing? That kind of thing. And some of these conspiracies were so fucking ironclad and clearly not fucking conspiracies at all. Not at all. It was, how is this a conspiracy? There's so much information. Oh my God. This is clearly happening. That it's hysterical sort of years later as we still have to talk to people and explain to people the realness of the thing that is occurring. And a big one is weather control. Geoengineering, HARP. This shit is real. And anybody who just understands science a little bit, you can go look at what they're doing and you go, yeah, that makes sense. There's a ton of things that they're doing, though. So, some of the things, are out of my pay grade as far as science goes, but I see that the technology exists. I'm not going to get into a lot of technical shit today because there's just so much, and I'm not the person to be passing it along. I've spent hours watching various people talk about this, hours and hours, at least a couple days probably, on geoengineering and of absorbing information of various scientists and and then their fucking what they're saying, their excuses, and and ultimately there's kind of muddied water in the why is there barium and aluminum in the jet streams, and why are there white clouds coming off of these jets? There was a change in the fuel. They claim for some reason or another they had to make this change, and that essentially they are unintentionally geoengineering the planet. That's what they say. I offer that this was just a means to get what they wanted, which was aluminum and barium particulates in the atmosphere, so that they could send signals to the particulates and vibrate them at various frequencies to heat, cool, direct in various ways. And you can go... there's so much fucking information on geoengineering. It's crazy how what's happening right now, all these hurricanes, all this is not natural. This is not natural. It's not natural at all. And, the planet is a natural system. And there is a butterfly effect when you change one area of the weather on planet Earth, because it's one giant ecosystem. I was just watching a thing before I got online, and the scientist, I'm not positive what his credentials were, but he was talking about, they talk about the jet stream, but how there's these various rivers of, movement. I've seen, there are maps that you can see of various, sort of normal movement patterns that are going on planet Earth at various times. There are tons of videos you can find of weathermen and other people very flustered and unable to explain certain things. Like when they've been doing a terrible drought on California, and this is some conspiracy shit. It's not conspiracy shit. They've been forcing a drought on California, and they literally have storms coming in from the ocean, and then they dissipate before they get here. And I remember watching a video of a dude, and he's like, yeah, and so it's here, and it's a storm, and then all of a sudden it gets here, and it kind of like shifts, and then it's just kind of gone. And it just dissolves before it makes landfall. And this is what happens when you're trying to cause a drought. We got some rain coming to California, stop that rain. Or when you want to do other things, and there is a lot of things that they want to do. I don't want this show to be about the fucking details, because the details don't matter. What matters is they're fucking with the weather on planet Earth, and it's not good for a natural ecosystem to have all of this unnatural activity. And I'm not not that I'm the biggest deal, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not intelligent enough to really understand what the ramifications of this could be. A lot of the scientists who talk about this talk about the fact that they are acidifying, I guess would be maybe the right word, the upper atmosphere. That's bad. That sounds bad to me. They're messing with the natural ecosystem. And it's not so much that there's nobody on planet Earth who understands this well enough to say, go and do that. It's that the people who are actually in control of the decisions being made are not scrupulous people who are, listening to the advisors. And, there's just like so many fucking famous incidents of the scientific advisor and the person who built the thing saying, nah, let's not do this. I think that's a bad idea. And the powers that be going, nah, I think it is. It's a terrible thing. It's what Oppenheimer learned. You invent stuff for other people to use. The scientists are not the politicians, even though the politicians aren't exactly the true rulers of things. The power structures are much deeper than that on planet Earth. But essentially it comes down to the money. The money is in power. And the money that pays your bills and feeds your family and helped you, facilitated your ability to do a thing, invent a thing, create something. Well, they got all the chips. You didn't really bring much to the table, is what they would tell you. The money is always more powerful in this current system. You know, I got a funny song with my band Dilf USA called Money Ain't Funny. We did a fun music video that's on YouTube now. I don't know, we released it not last year, earlier in the year. We've been putting out a bunch, so like it's somewhere in the mix. Money ain't funny, and the line in the song is, money ain't funny when it's used this way. It should be 50-50, but you hear them say 60-40, my friend, maybe 90-10. The money always gets you in the end, and that 60-40, my friend, is very generous. I had a company that had offered me 10%. And then I was like 3 issues into the book that I was working on for them, and I found out that it was going to be lower than that, something like 7.5%. And then I was like 2 more issues or 3 more issues in to working on the book, and I found out that it was 5% for everybody. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this is so lame. And me and my buddy actually got into a little bit of a fight about it at the time, because I was like, I made a big deal of it. I tried to handle it best I could, and I guess I did, because they did come around and apologize to me later, because I was just kind of trying to stand up for everybody. I was like, fuck, 5%, what the fuck? Like, that's the deal for everybody who's creating things for them, 5%? Like, I'm making this book for them. It's fucking 5%? Like, that shit's crazy. So yeah, I mean, but this is it. In the entertainment industry, and I'm sure it's like this in the sciences too. I want to make music. I want to write comic books. I want to work for Marvel. I want to work for DC, or at least I did. I wanted to get a big record label deal, or be offered one, When they know that you want, they make you work for it. All the shit that's coming out with P. Diddy right now. I mean, this is like the ability of these people who have something that they want so badly that they will put themselves into some really compromising positions to get it. And, just there's so many people who are doing this shit completely above board, as opposed to waiting to get swindled. Yeah, all right, quid pro quo and all that. I'll do whatever you want. Just like, get me my record deal. And these scientists, they need funding. You need funding. But who's in control in all these situations? Not even the editor. The editor, he's, or the person, the boss running the thing or running the money. Like, they're just the underlings of the real controllers, the money at the tippy top of everything. And they are deciding what to do with these weather modification devices. And there are many. And I can include in weather modification devices earthquake machines, and I mean, like, earthquake rays. There's a ton of different technology. It's like, once you understand how to break into the realm of frequency, which is the vibration of molecules, and projected energy weapons that can adjust frequency, laser weapons. I mean, you really got to dig so deep into this. And like I said, I'm not the best person to explain it to somebody else in a really deep way. But I can explain it to you in a basic understanding of what's going on way. But yeah, I mean, earthquakes, erupting volcanoes, forest fires, hurricanes, and everything that you can imagine with the weather. Now, a really fun place to start with this subject is, and it kind of really is a fun place to start, because you can get a whole bunch of really good proper names of secret programs of the government, lots of proper names of scientists who have contributed very interestingly to mankind, often in ways that have not ever really been seen by the public. But there's a comic book that I love. I think it's written by Jonathan Hickman, and it is called The Manhattan Projects, plural. Most people know about the Manhattan Project, especially those of you who saw the Oppenheimer film, right? Well, the Manhattan Project was a blanket name for a number of projects that were all war enders, something that could end the war. Amongst these projects was the atomic bomb and HARP, the first early whatever weather modification system that they built, and they said they weren't going to use it, and they were using it for something else, and all this shit. To this day, HARP and many other facilities, there's so many facilities all over the place tied into this geoengineering shit. They've been doing a lot of stuff over the years. They've finally, in the past decade, begun to admit it very, very openly, what is going on. Not really what is going on, but some of what is going on. And, and we'll talk more about what is going on, in a second as we, get through this thing. But they are admitting in so many different ways to, to weather modification. And it's funny, because I'm an American, so I actually do try to get my information as internationally as I possibly can whenever possible. But I hadn't come across this little piece of information, which was there is actually places in here's the headline from the Daily Mail. Would you pay 100,000 quid to guarantee a sunny wedding? Travel company offers cloud berating service to banish rain for couple's big day. Now, this is just a small demonstration. It's cloud berating. I don't know what technology they're using. I'm not looking into it. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you think there's nothing, oh my God, it's just, it's not nothing. There's so much. There's so much. It's very much under people's noses, but it's there, and it's there to be discovered. Dig into this in a deep way, because it's something that we really need to bring an end to. The conspiracies, because this is the. Let me talk about this for a second before I talk about some of these conspiracies about some of the weather things that are going on right now. All conspiracy theories are just informed guesses, okay? And many of them are probably wrong. I'm not solid on anything. The fundamentals of universal law that I am teaching you guys, I'm solid on that, because that is how reality is created. Theoretically speaking, I could create a whole new reality and be off into, and maybe leave you all behind because I thought so positively about what was going on, and you thought we were going to get into civil war, and I didn't want any of that. Or you have your civil war, and somehow it doesn't affect me in any way, shape, or form. But in one way or another, our multiverses are disconnected, and then maybe they reconnect at another time. But we're all creating our own universe, and and that is the truth of the matter. So when it comes to all of these things, it's it's within your power. And I don't know exactly how to advise you to do it, because I'm not quite so powerful yet to really understand how to sift through reality in that way. But there are plenty of people who claim to have done it or claim to be doing it, and most people believe, high-level spiritual people believe that essentially we're doing it all the time. We're just not necessarily jumping into drastically different realities in any way, shape, or form. We're generally just moving parallel into, there's a reality where me and my girl have a fight, and there's a reality where we don't. And I want to go in the one where we don't, right? Or where we don't because of it. And usually it's because of how you react. or how they react, right? So, all that aside, all these conspiracy theories, and conspiracy theory is blah blah blah. You know, there's some crazy things that have been going on in North Carolina, and I know that because I trust myself and I believe people, and I've watched at least hundreds of personal accounts in North Carolina about what is going on, about how little is being done to help, and about how they're having to do it all themselves, about how FEMA is actually getting in the way and causing them a lot of problems. Now, the thing that happened in Maui, the conspiracy, but again, there is so much smoke, where there's smoke, there's fire. There's so much evidence to point to this or some version of this being true. But the Maui fires seem to be a land grab. I forget now why that place in particular was a big deal, but there was something there that the powerful wanted. And this is the conspiracy. And do I know? I know that I'm living in a world where any other number of AI videos could be made, and there's better technology than we even know about. And so, could we be being deceived? Sure. But there are many accounts from the Maui fires that are peculiar in all the most terrible ways. And now very similar things are happening in North Carolina, and there is a lithium mine, or I guess a lithium deposit in this place that it is believed the elites want to get their hands on. It doesn't matter why any of this shit is happening. It doesn't matter if the elites are trying to wipe out a military base in Tampa that's involved in the war in one way or another, or the war. We're fucking war again. Shit is just terrible. It doesn't matter. What matters is we got 3 hurricanes in 3 weeks hitting Florida. We got these crazy forest fires raging. We've got them putting it all under the cover of climate change. It's not climate change, guys. Let me tell you a couple things about climate change. First of all, when the toothpaste company tells you that 9 dentists out of 10 agree, you know that those dentists are like being compensated for being the 9 dentists that agree. Like, there is compensation going on when there is money on the line. All of these leading scientists agree. Yeah, they got all these people on board one way or another. Okay? First thing, let's say conceptually about, you know what? I'll do this as an analogy. Say there was an ant, and he was trying to study the climate. He's lived for 24 hours, and he is going to study the climate for these 24... I don't know how long ants live off the top of my head. I don't remember. It's a little fact that I probably came across at some point. But whatever. He's living this short period of time, and he's trying to take a look at weather. We think that we can do all this stuff, or at least we say that we can. And I think that they know exactly what they're doing, and I'll tell you more about why I think that. We can only go back so far. We can only look at a microcosm. But let's say we could go back to the very beginning. What if we were on a larger cycle than we've been through? They're assuming because we go through a year every year, and then there's months, and we're on these cycles over and over again. They're like, it's a cycle, and then there's another cycle, and there's another. We could be on a cycle where this happens 3 times, and then something else happens. There is so fucking, like, the complexities of our reality are so much deeper than this scientific world is ready to understand, because they do not acknowledge the invisible. Go look at things. They don't like the invisible. The idea of things that aren't visible interacting with other things, it's just, there's so much going on. In the medical procedure, we don't use the aura for shit. The electrical field, your aura around your body, it's so important. There's so much that we could be doing, interacting with the body's auric field and figuring out what's really going on with the body. And we use it for, like, fucking getting people's heart rates and shit. I don't even know if that's what we use it for. I know that there was something that used that I came across somewhere along the way, and I was like, oh, all right, well, at least we know, we obviously know it exists. This is so stupid. The planet has energy fields. The planet is evolving all the time. The planet is raising its frequency, or trying to, as we are all raising our frequencies up a chain. There's an infinite spiral of consciousness that is always just sort of raising itself to a point where it came from no longer makes any sense to it. And then it continues to raise itself to a point beyond that, until the point where it came from no longer makes any sense to it. And this is sort of the idea of the spiral. I can no longer see behind me because it's like underneath me now. I'm in this new octave. You talk about scales, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Each one of those is a new octave where I can't see down the spiral. I'm all the way up into the new chamber. Do, re. I can't see it anymore. I'm all the way in the new octave. So, this idea of climate change, and that we can definitively know that we're in this new cycle now. That's what I mean, especially when it's so convenient and profitable to sell us this bag of goods. When I was a kid and I was growing up, there was a show called Captain Planet. He's a hero, gonna take pollution down to zero. I'm sorry, I liked Captain Planet. And I just liked what Captain Planet was about, which was about saving the planet, saving the Earth. And there was a bit of saving the animals in there with one of the main characters. He speaks to animals, and the rest of the characters kind of have like elemental powers. And he's out to stop pollution. Now, pollution was a tricky beast for these companies. Pollution, sludge and industrial waste and smoke and blah, 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 so many different things. Well, what these powerful financial interests do is they have think tanks and things like that, and they put money into coming up with a solution to the problem. How do we change this conversation so it can look like we're doing something to help the planet and make the people feel good that things are being done to make the planet safe from, whatever's going on, but at the same time, divert the attention away from the things that we do that we don't want to stop doing. We don't want to stop polluting the planet. We want to keep polluting the oceans and keep polluting the air and keep polluting the food and everything fucking else. So, let's change this conversation. And the conversation was changed to climate change. And there are plenty of reputable people who are out there on the interwebs who are obviously very intelligent, very well-reasoned, and they'll explain to you, they don't even bother to get into the shit that I'm talking about, like the fucking odds that we're in a cycle system that we can predict based on what they're looking at, especially, is astronomically low. They're not even talking about that. They're talking about facts, details, information that says that may not be true. And there are actually arguments to the contrary. And blah, 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 blah. It's like think about it, like climate change. Like you're looking at the planet on the whole, the planet as a whole. And you're looking at the planet while we have been geoengineering it. So you go back to HARP, you go back to the Manhattan's Project, and the Manhattan's Project's comic book has got all these scientists and all these secret programs with it, but all these scientists are all working on the Manhattan's Projects, the various different things to end the war. And it's all different, death machines and various things that would be very useful for the government to have. And a lot of this is based on reality. Good place to start if you want a jovial take on this stuff. There's a few different trade paperbacks of it. Manhattan Projects, plural. It's fucking awesome. Great book. Anyway, flash forward. This is World War II. This Manhattan Projects. So, what's it been? 50, 60, 70, like 80 years? 80 years they've had weather fucking modification technology. That's scary, man. Seriously. Some scary shit. And again, I'm not going to start naming countries and stuff because I'm going to misremember. But, I've watched a lot of stuff on this. But this subject, I've been aware of this information for a decade. At least. At least a decade. So it's been a long time since I've dug into all the information. Like I said, I watched a couple refresher videos to sort of just remind me of a couple details that I thought were probably important to share with you guys, for credibility's sake or whatever. Just because, like I said, for me, I'm like, I study a subject and I go, all right, this is very likely happening based on the information I have here. Can I be sure? No. I can see the chemtrails. I can test the aluminum and barium in the soil, and and people have. It's everywhere. It's showing up in our bodies. The signs of Alzheimer's going up because of the aluminum that is getting into people's brains. The signs of autism going up because of the metals getting into people's brains. The aluminum in particular. But there's all sorts of bizarreness with this stuff, especially just them being able to do it, them setting these fires. It's like, you really can't trust these fires now. It makes sense for people to dig into every fucking fire that they start. I have been. Whenever they would start a fire, I would go, why is that really happening? And usually speaking, I would find that somebody had pointed to a plausible reason. Granted, it's just a conspiracy theory until we can prove it, until there's an investigation, until something happens. Apparently, there have been reports coming out of, I don't know if it's both North Carolina and Florida, or just one of them. I wanted to say North Carolina. I don't like sharing facts if mine are incorrect, but look into this yourself. But reports coming out that they had, done a study into the earthquake. I mean, not the earthquake, the hurricane, and said that there was tampering. There was weather tampering going on. There were planes. There's lots of reports of planes. There was a report that I saw that seemed to have literally like a pathway of this plane that was going on. And I questioned how they got that. But they weren't the only ones who were saying that they saw the plane, and there were videos of a plane, and again, in this world we're living in, unfortunately, you do have to question all of these things all the time, and it's okay and appropriate to question these things all the time. It shouldn't stop you from being able to look at the majority of the information. Just continue to look at a stack of information. Over time, the stack of information becomes like enough for you to make a thesis and go, all right, this seems pretty there. It was easier to look at things like geoengineering a decade ago because there was much less people having this conversation and poking at these things, and there was less control over the internet, actually. I mean, they edit shit on the internet in real time. And seriously, you want to go find out about that? That's another fucking thing that they don't want you to know. There are elite, rich people, essentially, who are paying to scrub themselves from the internet. You look it up. Like, if I need to scrub something that happened to me on the internet, I want to get it off, it's haunting my record, you can find places that do this for you. And, this is like, people going, I'm a rapist, and like, I don't want people to be able to find that out. And now in real time, things will change on Wikipedia, things will change on dictionaries. Things are being edited subtly and nefariously. We're all relying upon this system, and changes are made. And there's plenty of people who have receipts out there for various changes that have been made, as they got made in real time. And people are now savvy and paying attention, saving things. So that, what does this look like now? The Wayback Machine has also been something that's been very helpful. I don't understand why they let us have the Wayback Machine. You feel like they would just fucking like get rid of that shit. But when you research these upper levels of echelon of these people, they're into fucking black magic and all sorts of dark shit. And they are... they believe in sort of showing their hand in subtle ways, so that if the sheep don't get it, then ha ha ha, joke's on them, and we don't get any karma for doing this. I've come to know that that's not fucking true, and these pieces of shit are going to have plenty of freaking hell to pay on the other side of existence. This bullshit that if they go, hey, look, we put our symbol hidden into the background. See, you should have figured that out. Nah. Kiss my ass. Shit's ridiculous. It's like freaking Timmy going to hell because he wasn't baptized, and the kids being worried about it and trying to baptize him. If there's no concept of the thing, if there's no concept of I need to be looking for Illuminati symbols in the fucking shit that are being put out, then there's no thing. Now, as people are waking up, and there is a concept, perhaps that argument could be made. But as that argument is being made, they are being destroyed. I really believe the good guys are winning. Epstein, now Diddy, I think a lot more is to come. And I could not be happier, man. I want to live in a world with great people doing great things. And those who are struggling to be great people, learning from great people doing great things, It's like simple recipe. Let's make the world a better place together. We can. There's been a lot of things holding us back for a long time. A lot of unscrupulous people at the top of the power structures. And a lot of monkey see, monkey doing, people doing things and creating businesses because they've been destroyed by the business in one way or another, and then they come up with unscrupulous ways to do their businesses so that they can compete. And it's just a terrible system that we live in. And we got to start pushing back on it and walking back on this shit. This is for our children. I don't know about you. I've got 4 kids. I got a ex-brother-in-law who I love, and he's got 2 kids, and I love them. I got a girl. I love her. I got a mom and dad. I love them. I got a brother and his wife and their kid. I love them. I got another brother and his fiance, and I love them. I got a lot of friends in this world, and I love them. And I don't want them breathing in any more of this fucking aluminum falling down from the sky. That's one thing I can tell you for sure is not good for our health. Metals in our body, heavy metals, mercury, aluminum, they're bad. I recommend to all you guys, I really recommend to everybody out there, do a cleanse with basil. Is it basil? No, sorry. Parsley and cilantro. I personally hate cilantro. This was not my favorite thing to do. But cilantro and parsley can naturally pull metal from your body. I did like 4 to 6 months of doing like blueberry shakes with them. I did blueberries and lots of dates. And then occasionally I would put some other things in. Some people put peanut butter in. I think I might have been putting some peanut butter in. Other healthy things, whatever. But I was doing these shakes, parsley and cilantro. I'm going to do it again soon. but very good for you. If you're like me and you hate cilantro, load it up with dates. You'll still taste it a little bit in the background, but mostly you'll taste like a really great, delicious, sweet blueberry shake. The dates make it really sweet. The blueberries are very good for your health. Blueberries, wild blueberries. It's one of the best things you can do for your health. Wild blueberries in particular. It's a great health book that I had for a while. I had a fire, 2 fires, and the second one took my books, a lot of my book collection. And I don't remember the name of the fucking book anymore. If it comes to me, I'll share the name of that book. But yeah. I don't know what all this fucking with our weather is doing. I know it's creating a butterfly effect. I know it's changing the rain patterns in fucking Guatemala and everywhere else. I know it's changing the weather patterns across the world. I know that they're using it to attack island nations so they can, decimate the population and come in and take their resources and manipulate the remaining people by offering them help the same way they did with the fucking Native Americans. They've been doing that for years. Again, they've had this shit since World War II, 80 years of weather modification. Think of all of the war that they've done in that time. And if you go in and you start watching, little documentaries on this time, honestly, I recommend Rumble. It's just censored less. And there's a lot of things that you can find on there. And look, man, people are like, look at these conspiracies. There's all sorts of conspiracies. Dude, conspiracy theories that don't have a lot of fucking heat behind them, they don't last. I'll go this far. The reason why flat Earth persists is because there's a lot of heat behind the information within that conspiracy. Is the answer that the Earth is flat? No. I don't actually believe that the Earth is flat in the way that is largely purported. However, there is lots of information within that conspiracy theory that will show you the light of how big a lot of the things they're hiding from us are, and how many questions there really are about the nature of reality itself that they might have some answers for us about. I'm not going to talk about this now. I'll save this for another time because it's a long talk, the flat Earth fucking thing. But I believe I have a pretty good handle of what is actually true. And I will talk about it in another episode. I'm going to get back to the universal laws after this episode, but with all these fucking hurricanes going on and this unnatural weather, I mean, just think, if you're an older person like me, not that I'm an older person, I'm 42, but if you've been around enough to see enough seasons in your life where you live, have you found yourself saying, "Fuck, this weather is fucked. This weather is crazy. It's so unusual." Because that has been the past decade for me. So many times in my life going, man, fucking weather's fucking weird, And I don't even put 2 and 2 together. I'm a conspiracy theorist who's like looking up this thing. And so often it'll dawn on me later that I'm like, oh, that's right. Like, they definitely can manipulate the weather. Was that a manipulated weather? Is that why that seems so strange? But it's not like I haven't accepted this reality. What's the word? With prejudice. I mean, that's not the word I was looking for. But I didn't go, oh wow, they can modify the weather, and they're obviously doing it all the time, everywhere, all at once. I didn't think that, but now I do. Now I do, especially over the past just few weeks with the North Carolina thing. I was starting to get there because it just ties so much into farming and into various countries' ability to yield. And, there's been a very big buying up of farmland by rich industrial people, them trying to like take over all these farms and shit. And then you can look into that yourself. Bill Gates is one of the people who's been doing a lot of buying. And you wonder, well, now that we can control the weather, if we were the only ones with the crops, because we were decimating the crops of everybody else all around the world, because we could control the weather and we could do that, then investing in crops would be a really good investment. Not to mention all the other fucking uses for buying land. You know, this is the thing with, you know, people end up sounding crazy, but you can't have it be and this and this and this and they can do this and they can do it. Has to be they can do this and they can also do this and they can also do this. These are the things that they can do right now. It's not they could be and they might be and they can. And there is nothing monitoring this. The scientist who I was watching, or he seemed like a scientist. He knew his stuff pretty good. I just missed his introduction. I was multitasking and as I was listening, but he had just like a little 47-minute presentation. It was really great. And fuck, why was I sharing that with you? He was telling you something about monitoring the country. And that there should be a civilian monitoring system in place. And there's a lot of different civilian monitoring systems that need to be put in place and are starting to be put in place. There was one that I heard about just the other day. I'm blanking out on what it was for. But if I remember, I'll tell you. I think it was like fraud. It was something that was like watching the watchers. It was watching the system and like how accurate it was. Sorry, I hate that I'm talking about something that I'm not remembering. But anyway, they were trying to monitor what was going on, and they were finding a lot of fraud. Basically just a lot of activity that we would want to know about and, to pass it on, to the consumers, the people in the world need to know, we need to know there's a weather device being used. And there are things that he has, and I guess he works with an organization that they can put up in your home to help be scanning or monitoring the sky or whatever for the signs of weather modification that may be going on so that we can go, there was absolutely signs of weather modification. And apparently that's what's happened in North Carolina. I think maybe in Florida too. They, their board said, we've been hit with like weather modification thing. Like they know that in their house, their governing body in North Carolina, and I think maybe in Miami as well. Upper level people know what's going on. Again, it doesn't matter why we're having all this unnatural weather. The real reason why we're having this unnatural weather is because some people have been allowed to control the fucking weather and are doing whatever they want with it. And we need to stop that. So what they do is they want to argue with you about what's going on in North Carolina, or they want to argue with you about what's going on in Miami. Miami, Tampa. Where were this fucking hurricanes hitting down in Florida? You can't let them move the goal because they want to argue about the conspiracy theory. There's a conspiracy theory that, they did this with weather modification on purpose to hurt people, and it gets deeper than that conspiracy theory, and like I said, I don't want this to be that sort of show because it doesn't matter. What matters is they are fucking with our weather. I do see things in my sky pumping these clouds. I do know what is in these clouds, these aluminum and barium and other things. I do know, and I have seen, and it's very easy to verify the fucking schematics and the plans. I mean, you can easily read the plans and what HARP is and what these things are and what they're meant to do. And then you see metal being pumped into the atmosphere, and you go, oh, that's what they need to do the HARP thing. When you go read the plans, it tells you what we would need to do is we would need to put particulates up into the atmosphere a lot of different ways. This is ways to make rain, make clouds, make storms. Also, ways to have some control over the atmosphere when you then beam laser signals, whatever else, up to vibrate the molecules in various ways, heating, cooling. If you ever studied weather at all, it's all fucking heating. When this cold front meets this warm front, we're going to have, and then when this hurricane meets this hurricane, they're going to turn into a super hurricane. It's really just these two energies, masculine, feminine, battling it out on planet Earth, always and forever. That's it. Okay? So it's actually relatively easy to manipulate once you have the technology to, vibrate things and get temperature, out of that. Temperature increases through, lasers and different frequencies, frequency weapons and frequency generating machines. It's happening. We need to protect our children. We need to protect the whole planet. We need to do something about this. This weather that we're having is unnatural. This climate change conversation is a cover for it. Geoengineering is very real. And now it's being used against the population of America. And, I know that I'm sure that at this point, everybody on planet Earth has some amount of weather manipulation technology. But I'm sure our dick's bigger than theirs. And I really want to get to the bottom of all this stuff for once and for all time, because I believe it is detrimental to planet Earth the same way polluting the ocean is, the same way polluting the air is, the same way, introducing a new species of animal into a space might fuck up the whole circle of life. A new fish, and it has no natural predators. A new frog, it's got no natural predators. It's a very interesting subject to study. Animals introduced into places where they have no natural predators, and they decimate the natural wildlife there, completely terraforming the whole thing. What happens when you introduce all of this shit into our atmosphere? This is an atmosphere that is carefully balanced to produce life. We've looked around all of the galaxies, and from our scientific perspective, which is stupid, but from this perspective it is worth noting, there is only like a tiny percentage of places that have the perfect capacity for life as we know it. Granted, there's all sorts of other life that can exist and does exist in these other paradigms. But for us, we're living in a carefully balanced environment. If you go back and you look at what's really come to be the story of Atlantis, the consensus seems to be they were dealing with forces beyond their fucking understanding, and they fucked up the cohesion of planet Earth, and that perhaps they were the ones who caused the flood when they busted the I think it's possible that they busted our north, south, east, west. They did something to the sort of fabric of, how things were. And there was this huge flood from beneath the earth. And there is a lot of water beneath the earth. That's something worth looking into. There's tons of water. I mean, it's documented kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be conspiracy in a lot of cases. Underneath one of our most major oceans is another ocean. And it was detected as a echo. I first thought an echo of the major ocean, but it was found to be unique, and it was a unique ocean as big as the ocean itself. I think possibly larger than the ocean above it that was being measured. So there's water underneath the earth. The flood, the stories of that all across the world. And the Atlanteans were wiped off the face of the planet, allegedly, for dealing with forces they didn't understand. Well, what is this? This looks an awful lot like forces we don't fucking understand. And I want them to stop immediately. I want the planet to be able to go back to whatever natural cycles it's been on. God knows how long and how much they've really been doing. Like I said, I've been very innocent in my thing, even knowing about this for a decade. every time it rains, I haven't thought, fucking government. You know, like I don't really think about it at all. I haven't really thought about it much at all. You know, I think about it more when like I hear like a hurricane's hitting Chile, and I'm like, oh, are they trying to overtake the Chilean government? Like, you know, that would make me like think about it. When something's going on here, I wasn't thinking about it because I wasn't thinking that our government was using this shit against us. But oh yes. Oh yes. Anyway, my name is Jesse Blaze Snider, and I'm going to be joining you every Friday, filling you in on things that you need to know that they do not want you to fucking know. I'm going to get back to teaching the universal law, and I'm teaching, bad word, you know, reminding you of the universal law of the past knowledge that you've forgotten. And, you know, we're going to get through all of these, and the last one's the law of attraction, which people love to fucking learn about that law. So keep tuning in, and I mean, you know, this is the shit that the secret societies teach all of their adepts, and you know, this is the real fundamentals of the universe, and they do not want you to know. Join me next Friday for another fucking awesome episode of everything they don't want you to know. Peace out, guys. Love you.